This is Jason Avery from Monstrosity. You're listening to What's Metal.
Okay, your last European tour has been 2 years ago, I think. How do you judge on that tour now?
It was a good tour, but unfortunately, it's been quite some time since we've toured Europe again. We should have been back here, and hopefully we'll be back soon. It's just been some problems with this, label that we were dealing with here in Europe, and that's kind of what set us back. Hopefully we'll be here soon, though.
In Dark Purity is out since more than a year, I would say. There wasn't that much promotion for it. I heard that it will be re-released now.
Yeah, it's going to be re-released on Hammerheart Records. The first label that we signed with was just pretty much a joke and didn't do anything that they promised they would do, so we're pretty disgusted with it, so that's why we went for the re-release with someone else, and hopefully we can get a little more push with it and, come back and tour, whatever,
So it was no problem with any contract you had with Metal Age?
They pretty much breached contract, so it wasn't any problem for us to get out because they didn't fulfill the agreements that we had with the contract with them, so it wasn't any big deal to get out of the contract. So
I saw that there also exists a shaped version of In Dark Purity.
yeah.
Whose idea was that, and on what label has this one been released?
Originally that came out on Metal Age simply because the first pressing they did, they didn't print any of our lyrics or anything inside, and we were really, really pissed off about that and kind of demanded that they did something about it. So in turn they released that shape disc, you know what I mean, which I guess it's cool, but I mean it should have been done right the first time, It was not our decision for the package to come out the way it did, and we were really pissed off about it, which is one of the reasons mainly that we decided to, try out another label, So
The version, the shape version that I know is, I think, it's been produced so that the last song can't be played completely. Is that right? Angel of Death is not completely playable.
Some of the last seconds or something of the CD of that song cut off, So it's really pathetic, and we're pretty much disgusted with that Metal Age label. They're no good. We're really unhappy with it, so we move on, It's just like we've been trying to kind of handle things ourselves and do licensing deals with other labels, and sometimes not being from Europe and whatever, it's hard for us to stay in control of what's really going on with our album, which is exactly what happened there, We got pretty much ripped off, so live and learn,
So Conquest Music, which is doing all the stuff for you in the States, is more or less your own label?
Yeah, it's our drummer, Lee. It's pretty much his label, and what we do is license it to other labels, for single album deals. In the U.S., we licensed to a label called Olympic, which had really, really good distribution, and they've done a really good job for us, so hopefully we can work with them in the future. But like I said, we're still working on straightening out the Europe thing and making sure that, we get the distribution, the promotion, and the touring opportunities that we need. So hopefully, this re-release will help, or in the next album we won't have the same problems. So
today I heard a recording of your show. Last night they played it here in the break. Will this one be released in any way, or was it just for fun to record it?
I didn't even realize they were recording it. I'd like to hear it because we have been interested in doing a live album, and I don't know where or when we were going to do it. It depends on how the recording of this came out. Maybe we can use some of the songs and record some other songs someplace else. I don't know. I'd like to hear it because I haven't heard it myself. Yeah, so.
You play typical Floridan death metal, I would say. If you hear the word US death metal or Florida death metal, what is typical for this style?
Florida death metal, I'd say, is it's really instrumental. I think all the bands that come from Tampa area for the most part are some, on one level or another pretty technical and fast, and been doing it for a long time. That's all the bands that are still existing in Florida today have been in the scene for a long time, and in my opinion continue to generate quality records that people like around the world. You know, some people always want to say that you know Florida bands all sound the same or all recorded in more sound or whatever, but the bottom line is I think if you look back over the history of death metal, that some of the best albums, you know, have come from some of the bands from that area, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, Florida bands, there's great bands from all over the world, but I think that, you know, Florida generates some really good records and some really good bands, you know. And it's, you know, it's a cool city, good musicians coming from there.
I think most of the bands are very technical. Have you been in any other bands before you entered Monstrosity?
Yeah, I used to play in a band called Eulogy. We never really put out anything major label. We did some small EP with some Dutch label back, I don't know, 91 or 92 or something like that, and it was a really small label and they couldn't do anything for us, and shortly after that they pretty much broke up about the same time that I joined Monstrosity, so it was good timing for me, you know. So yeah, but I would have liked to have seen that band do more. It was really good stuff, but we just never really had the opportunities. So at that time in Tampa there were so many bands, I think, that it caused problems for some bands to get deals, you know what I mean, because the scene was so flooded with so many bands that it was just, you know, whoever got the deal first, you know what I mean, which is kind of pathetic, but I don't know. It was good though. It was a cool band, but I'm happy where I'm at. I like being in Monstrosity. It's a brutal band, playing the type of music I like. It's fast, technical, and yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Do you know what the guys of Brutality are doing today? Do they still play in any bands?
No, they pretty much have all gone their separate ways. Me and their old singer Scott Regal are good friends, and he's not doing anything musically. I don't think any of those guys are. So one guy that did one European tour, I don't know that, this guy named Brian Hipp, I don't think he ever recorded with them. He's jamming with another band in Florida, but it's nothing, you know, substantial. And none of those guys are really doing anything worth talking about, you know, so.
You did a US tour recently, I think. What can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, we did a US tour in September and the beginning of October with Dimmu Borgir, Samael, us and a band called Epic of Unlight, which is also a US band, kind of just pushing their first album. And actually Samael was headlining, which kind of surprised me. I mean, they were, you know, they were, in my opinion, at one time were a great band. You know, now they've kind of gone a different direction, you know, and definitely a different direction for all the other bands that were on the tour, you know what I mean, being more fast and stuff like that. But I think because they had toured the U.S. Some years ago, they got the headlining position. I felt like Dimmu Borgir should have had it, you know, but they didn't. But it was a good tour. It turned out it was all the bands were different, which kind of made it cool, you know. It was like each set was like something completely different one from, you know, the next one. So it was cool. It was cool. Those guys from Dimmu Borgir are really cool guys, and we had a really good time on the road with them. They're cool.
How many people showed up for these shows?
U.S. is a lot different than Europe. I think the scene's, for the most part, smaller. You know, I think Europeans are more, you know, more people come out to the metal shows. You know, so when you're touring the U.S., some cities are great. You know, or for the U.S. are great. You know, you'll have 500 or 600, and then some cities are just really pathetic. You know what I mean? So it's just it's hard to tell. It just depends. In the more major cities, you have better shows, but in a lot of the smaller cities, the shows aren't so good. But unfortunately, you have to play all those small cities because the country's so large that you have to, you know, stay. You can't spend days and days driving for each show, you know. So, but I mean, overall, it was a pretty good tour, you know. But I think the tour, excuse me, with those same bands would be much better in Europe. Absolutely. And you know, hopefully, we'd like to do something with them. You know, it's like some of these black metal fans and stuff that really just aren't interested in death metal. You know, I think that it'd be a cool opportunity for us and for fans to, you know, to have a brutal death metal band on a tour with a, you know, a strong black metal band. I think that's cool, you know, because I like a lot of that stuff too, you know, so it'd be fun to tour with those guys, you know. We'll see what happens.
And your show yesterday was just a one-off show?
One show? Yeah, we just came over for the show. We were talking with some people about doing maybe another week or two here, like going through Germany and up into the Netherlands. But we had some problems with like transportation agreements and stuff like that, and we didn't want to get stuck, you know, somewhere in the middle of Europe with, you know what I mean, and touring in a Volkswagen van or something ridiculous like that. It's really uncomfortable, so we just kind of put it off, you know, and hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to have the opportunity to come back to Europe soon and, you know, do a full-scale tour again, you know. That'd be great. So we're hoping.
This festival is called Faxe Commerce Festival. All the prices are very cheap. Could they pay for your appearance here?
They paid for all our expenses and everything, and that was cool. And, you know, we brought some merchandise. We're not really, for a show like this, they're taking care of us, and it's only one weekend, and we just really want to come and play, you know what I mean, in front of good crowds and stuff like that. We're not so much about trying to soak somebody for money, you know what I mean? So for one show, they covered our expenses, and they've treated us well since we've been here, so we have nothing to complain about. It's been a great show. We've had a great time, man. Absolutely.
Okay. I heard that Lee is baking cheesecakes as his profession. Is that true?
Yeah, that actually is true. He can make a hell of a cheesecake.
So you like it?
Yeah, we eat cheesecake at practice all the time. Definitely. Yeah, he's been working for that company a long time, and they treat him good and pay him good money. So what the hell, you know? At this point, you know, everybody's got to have a job, at least part-time or something, you know. So I guess he's happy where he's at, and that's good, you know. So.
Okay, our program is called What's Metal? What is metal for you?
It's about, you know, just doing everything you can to release anger and hatred that you got inside you, man, you know, and expressing it some way, and having the opportunity to come and play for other people and travel around the world and express you know, what I got inside me. You know, that's metal, man. That's great, you know, that there's people around the world that feel the same, want to hear the same shit, and, you know, are just into it like, you know, like I am. That's a great thing, man. It's like a worldwide community, you know what I mean, of people that don't know each other but all have a common interest, you know, and it's good, man. It's the legions of hate. No, I think it's wonderful.
Have you written any new material right now? Will you record anything in the near future?
Yeah, we're working on our new record. That's what we're doing right now, pretty much, just sitting still and writing. We're about 6 songs pretty much into the new record, and we're gonna, you know, finish it up, hopefully do maybe 10 or 11 tracks, and then you know, take a few months to just rehearse it over and over, and then go into the studio and put it out, and we'll see what happens. We're hoping to hopefully be in the studio by maybe, I don't know, October or so. That'd be cool. But we're not rushing it, you know what I mean? We want to make it quality before anything, you know. We rather take the time to make a brutal record before we just put out some bullshit, you know what I mean? So
and that record will also be licensed to Hammerheart Records?
At this point, I don't know, you know what I mean? We're just talking with other people, and we got some labels in mind that we'd like to work with, but at this time it's really all kind of up in the air, so we're just waiting to see what happens. Yeah.